All right, so today we're diving deep into how to prepare for a wholesale merchant in tobacco products interview. We've got some great RoleCatcher resources to help us unpack this.
Yeah, we've got career guides and interview guides, even insights into how AI is changing the game.
It's going to be exciting. So before we get into the specific questions, let's just take a minute to sort of paint a picture for folks who might not be super familiar. Like, what exactly does a wholesale merchant in tobacco products do?
Yeah, it's more than just selling cigarettes and cigars. It's really about understanding the whole ecosystem. Think about it like a conductor. They're the one who orchestrates the entire movement of tobacco products, from the manufacturer to the retailer. So they need to know the score, the regulations, the market trends, what clients need.
Right, so it's not just about moving boxes, it's about navigating this whole complex world. So let's jump into some of those interview questions you might encounter. Starting with the classic, tell me about your experience working in the tobacco industry. How do you answer that in a way that really stands out?
I think it's about telling a story. Not just listing off job titles. You want to highlight your strengths and how they connect to the demands of this industry. Like, did you work with a distributor that had to adapt to new vaping regulations? Talk about how you helped educate retailers on those changes. Or maybe how you managed the inventory during a big shift. Paint a picture of your capabilities.
So connect your experience to the industry's specific needs. Makes sense. Now, what about those tricky follow-up questions? Like, can you elaborate on a time you had to adapt to a change in tobacco regulations?
Yeah, you got to get specific. Don't just say, oh, I'm adaptable. Think of a specific regulation change, maybe the menthol ban. And explain the steps you took to ensure compliance, how you communicated with clients, and the positive outcome.
Right, so it's about showing, not just telling. Okay, so we talked about regulations. Now let's talk about relationships, because relationships are huge in this business, right? So how do you handle the question? What is your approach to building and maintaining relationships with clients?
You're not just selling products, you're building trust. Talk about your communication style, your ability to listen and really understand their needs. Maybe share a time where you went above and beyond to solve a problem for a client.
Right, so no hard selling tactics. It's all about building those long-term partnerships. Okay, so let's shift gears a bit. How about the question? How do you stay up to date on industry trends and regulations?
This is where you show them you're proactive. You're not just waiting for information to come to you. Mention specific industry publications you read, maybe Tobacco Reporter or CSP Magazine. Talk about conferences or webinars you've attended. Show them you're really invested in the industry's future.
It's about demonstrating that you're a lifelong learner, always eager to stay ahead of the curve. Now let's tackle a tough one, conflict resolution. How do you approach the question? Can you give an example of a time when you had to resolve a conflict with a client?
It's all about communication and finding a win-win solution. So maybe you had a client who was unhappy with a shipment delay. Describe how you proactively investigated the issue, kept the client informed, and worked together to find an alternative.
Right, so stay calm, take ownership, and focus on solutions. All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty pricing and negotiations. How do you approach pricing and negotiations with clients? I feel like that's a question that can make some people sweat.
I think they want to see your thought process. So explain how you factor in market trends, competitor pricing, the client-specific needs. Maybe even share an example of a past negotiation where you found a creative solution that benefited both sides.
So it's about striking that delicate balance between profit and building those lasting partnerships. Now, this next one might not apply to everyone, but it could definitely be a curveball. Can you describe your experience managing a sales team?
Even if you haven't directly managed a team, you can still highlight your leadership qualities. Talk about a time you took initiative on a project or mentored a colleague. Maybe you coordinated a team effort really effectively. Those leadership skills are valuable even at entry level.
Right, so show them you can step up and lead when needed. Okay, how about questions related to finding new business opportunities? Like, how do you approach market research and identifying new business opportunities?
This is your chance to show that you're not just taking orders, you're thinking strategically about growth. Talk about your methods for analyzing competitor offerings. Maybe you attend industry events to spot trends, or even use tools like RoleCatcher's AI to uncover emerging market data.
Oh yeah, RoleCatcher's AI, that's like having a secret weapon, right?
Absolutely. It can analyze job descriptions and pinpoint the exact skills you should highlight.
That's so cool. It takes all the guesswork out of it. So you can tailor your resume, practice your answers based on what this specific employer is looking for. All right, let's talk about pressure, because interviews can be stressful. How do you handle the question? How do you handle pressure and meet tight deadlines?
Again, focus on your process. Describe your time management techniques. Do you prioritize tasks, break projects into smaller steps? Maybe use tools to stay organized? Share an example of a time you successfully juggled multiple demands while staying calm and delivering results.
It's all about showing you have a system for staying on top of things. All right, now for a question that really tests your decision-making skills. Could you give an example of a time when you had to make a difficult decision related to pricing or product development?
Here's where you showcase your judgment. Walk them through your process. Did you gather information from various sources, consider the impact on different stakeholders, analyze potential risks and rewards, and what do you learn from the outcome?
It's about showing you can make those tough calls, but also that you're always learning and growing. Now, what about those follow-up questions? Like if they ask, looking back, would you do anything differently?
Honesty and self-awareness are key. Maybe in hindsight, you would have gathered more data or consulted with additional team members. Don't be afraid to acknowledge areas for improvement. It shows you're always striving to be better.
It's not about being perfect. It's about continuous improvement. Okay, we can't talk about this industry without addressing compliance. How should someone prepare for the question? How do you ensure compliance with tobacco regulations and maintain ethical business practices?
This is where your knowledge of specific regulations really shines. Mention relevant laws, guidelines, industry standards. Maybe you've even implemented compliance procedures or training in a previous role. Concrete examples show you're committed.
Right, it's not enough to say you're ethical. You have to show how you put it into practice.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for a real curveball, what about those hypothetical questions like, have you ever faced a situation where you had to choose between profitability and doing the right thing? How did you handle it?
These questions can feel like traps, but they're really testing your values. So think of a scenario. Maybe you discovered a supplier cutting corners that could jeopardize compliance. Describe how you weighed the potential profit loss against the risk to your company's reputation, and ultimately chose to do the right thing.
It's about showing that you have a strong moral compass and you're not afraid to stand up for what's right, even when it's tough. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, but it's clear that preparation is key. And how can RoleCatcher's AI help someone really personalize their prep for this specific role?
You know, RoleCatcher's AI goes beyond just generic advice. It dives into the specific language of the job description. So let's say the posting emphasizes building strategic partnerships. The AI will pick up on that and suggest tailoring your answers to highlight those relationship-building skills. It even provides feedback on your video interview delivery. Make sure you're presenting yourself in the best possible way.
It's like having a personalized interview coach in your pocket.
That's amazing.
Well, we've talked a lot about acing the interview, but there's more to a successful career than just getting the job right. And RoleCatcher's career guides provide some great insights into that bigger picture.
Absolutely. And we've touched on some of those insights while we've been talking about these interview questions. Understanding the tobacco industry's complexity, being able to adapt to change, building those strong relationships. These are all essential for long-term success.
So it sounds like we've got the interview prep down. But what about navigating the career path itself? That's where RoleCatcher's career guides really come in handy, right?
Absolutely. And that's exactly what we'll be diving into next. It's interesting how prepping for an interview can make you think about your career more deeply. It's not just about answering those questions. It's about figuring out if this job really fits with what you want.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's like with RoleCatcher, they don't just give you interview questions. They have this whole career guide to help you see the bigger picture.
Exactly. It goes into career stages, different specializations, even skills you can use in other jobs.
So let's dive into those career insights. What are some key takeaways from RoleCatcher's guide, specifically for wholesale merchants in tobacco products?
One thing that stood out to me was how important it is to understand the whole supply chain. You're not just dealing with the products themselves, you're dealing with relationships, logistics, regulations. It's a whole ecosystem.
So it's about more than just knowing your cigarettes from your cigars. It's about understanding how everything moves from the manufacturer to the retailer.
Exactly. And the guide also makes it clear that this industry is always changing. New products, new regulations, new market trends. You have to be able to adapt and keep learning.
It seems like adaptability is a really important skill here. Would you say that's one of the most important things for success in this role?
Absolutely. And it's not just about adapting to changes outside of your control. It's also about being flexible when you're working with clients and negotiating deals.
Right. Now, the guide also talks about potential career paths. What are some typical ways that someone might move up in this role?
Well, a lot of people start in entry-level positions, maybe helping with research coordinating trades, learning the basics. Then, as they gain experience, they might move into roles that are more specialized, maybe focusing on specific types of products, certain markets, or even international trade.
So there's definitely room to grow and specialize within this field.
Absolutely. And with enough experience and a good track record, people often move into management positions, like leading sales teams or overseeing bigger distribution networks.
That's encouraging. It's not just a job. It's a potential career with lots of different branches.
Exactly. And the guide really emphasizes networking and building relationships, going to industry events, joining associations, connecting with people who have more experience. All of that can open doors to new opportunities.
It's all about that network, making connections and staying involved in the industry. Now let's go back to those curveball questions that interviewers like to ask, the ones that make you think on your feet.
Oh, yeah, those curveballs, they can be a little nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
But they're also a chance to show off your problem-solving skills and how you can think outside the box.
So what are some examples of those curveball questions that might come up in a wholesale merchant and tobacco products interview?
Well, they might ask something like, if you could introduce a brand new tobacco product to the market, what would it be and why?
Ooh, that's a good one. It makes you think about market trends, what consumers want, maybe even how to develop a product.
Exactly. Or they might ask something like, how would you convince a retailer who doesn't want to carry a new brand of cigars to give it a try?
That's a classic sales challenge.
Yeah.
You have to understand their concerns, show them the benefits, maybe offer some kind of incentive.
Exactly. With these curveball questions, it's not about having the right answer. It's about showing how you think, how creative you are, and how persuasive you can be.
So it's about staying calm, being strategic, and showing that you can handle surprises, which is a good skill to have in any business, but especially in one that's as fast-paced as wholesale.
Absolutely. And don't forget, RoleCatcher's AI can help you practice these kinds of questions you can put in the job description. And it'll come up with a bunch of curveball questions that are specific to that role in that industry.
It's like having a practice partner for your interview.
Exactly. The more you practice, the easier it'll be to handle those unexpected questions. And you'll be able to show that you can think on your feet. Now let's talk about the more practical day-to-day stuff. We mentioned the work environment earlier. It's often in an office, but it could involve some travel to meet clients or suppliers.
Right, so it's not all just spreadsheets and phone calls. There's a chance for some face-to-face interaction, which can be good for building those relationships.
Exactly. And the RoleCatcher guide mentions that technology is becoming more and more important in this field. So it's definitely a plus to be comfortable with technology.
That makes sense. I bet they're using software for everything. Tracking inventory, managing orders, analyzing data.
Absolutely. They might even ask you about your tech skills.
Okay, good to know. We've talked about the skills and knowledge for this role. But let's zoom out a bit. The RoleCatcher guide also talks about transferable skills. So what are some examples of skills that could be useful, even if someone doesn't have direct experience in the tobacco industry?
That's a good question. It shows that careers aren't always a straight line. Skills you learn in other industries can be valuable in a wholesale merchant role.
So someone coming from a completely different background could still have a chance.
Absolutely. For example, strong negotiation skills are crucial in this role. And you can learn those skills in all sorts of fields, sales, procurement, even real estate.
So someone who's great at negotiating the price of a car could use those same skills to negotiate a big tobacco order.
Exactly. The guide also talks about analytical skills, like being able to gather market information, analyze trends, and make decisions based on data. Those skills are really transferable from fields like finance marketing or even data analysis.
So even if you haven't worked in tobacco, if you're a good analyst and a good negotiator, you might have what it takes to succeed.
Precisely. And we can't forget about relationship building skills. Anyone who's worked in customer-facing roles like account management or even hospitality has probably developed strong interpersonal skills that would be useful in this industry.
So those years you spent as a barista working on your customer service could actually pay off in a wholesale merchant role.
It's definitely possible. The key is to connect the dots for the interviewer. Explain how your past experiences, even if they seem unrelated, have given you the skills and the mindset to excel in this role.
That's so encouraging. It means this career might be open to more people than we initially thought.
Exactly. And that's one of the things I'd appreciate about RoleCatcher. They're not just trying to fit people into boxes. They're helping people discover their potential and explore different paths within their field.
Okay, so we've covered a lot in this deep dive. Interview prep, career insights, transferable skills, It's a lot to take in.
Mhm.
What are some key things that listeners should really focus on as they get ready for their wholesale merchant interview?
I think the most important things are to be prepared, be authentic, and be adaptable.
Okay, that's a good summary. Can you break that down a bit more?
Sure. Being prepared means doing your research, understanding the industry, the company, and the specific job you're applying for. Use RoleCatcher's resources to tailor your resume and practice answering common interview questions.
So knowledge is power, and RoleCatcher is the key.
Exactly. Being authentic means being yourself in your answers. Don't try to be someone you're not. Share your real experiences, your values, and what you hope to achieve. The right company will appreciate your honesty and your passion.
It's about finding the right fit for both you and the company.
Exactly. And being adaptable means being flexible. Be ready to answer unexpected questions, handle difficult situations, and show that you can learn and grow.
So stay calm, think on your feet, and don't be afraid of a challenge.
Exactly. Remember, the interview is a two-way street. It's not just them evaluating you, you're evaluating them too.
Right. It's about finding a company where your values match and where you can see yourself succeeding.
Exactly. If you go into the interview prepared, authentic, and adaptable, you'll have a much better chance of finding that perfect fit.
This has been such an insightful deep dive. We've talked about so much: interview prep, career insights, even transferable skills. I feel like I could walk into a wholesale merchant interview right now and nail it.
Well, almost. Remember, practice makes perfect. Use RoleCatcher's AI to fine-tune your answers, record yourself answering practice questions, and get comfortable talking about your experiences and what you want to achieve.
So preparation, practice, and a little help from AI are the keys to success.
Exactly. And even if you don't get this particular job, the things you learn while preparing for it will be valuable throughout your career.
That's a great point. It's all about continuous learning and growth.
Exactly. Now, before we finish this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought.
Okay, I'm curious. What is it?
It's more a challenge. Think about all the skills we've talked about today. Negotiation, market analysis, relationship building. How could you use those skills in other industries or even in your personal life?
Oh, that's a good one. It's making me think.
It's a challenge worth exploring. These skills aren't just for getting a job. They're valuable tools for dealing with all kinds of challenges in life.
Absolutely. It's about realizing how versatile these skills are and finding new ways to use them outside of work.
Exactly. And remember, RoleCatcher is there to help you along the way. They provide resources and support to help you make smart decisions in your career and in your life.
Okay, that's a great reminder. So what does all of this mean? You're not just prepared for an interview, you're equipped to make smart career choices. And you're challenged to think about how these valuable skills can make your life better as a whole.
Exactly. Stay curious, keep exploring, and remember your journey is yours to create.
All right, we've talked about how to nail those interview questions, and we've explored the career path for wholesale merchants in tobacco products. But before we wrap up this deep dive, let's talk about something that can give you a real edge: RoleCatcher's AI tools.
It's like you've got all these great ingredients, your experience, your skills, your knowledge, and RoleCatcher's AI helps you put them together in just the right way for the specific job.
So it's like having a personal chef.
Exactly. Like
Exactly.
if the job description mentions data-driven decision-making, the AI will pick up on that and suggest that you highlight times when you use data to boost sales or manage inventory, or even find new opportunities in the market.
It's like it reads the employer's mind and helps you tailor your answers perfectly. But it's not just about the content, right? RoleCatcher's AI also helps with how you present yourself.
Absolutely. It analyzes your practice videos
Yeah.
and gives you feedback on your pacing, your tone, even your body language.
So it's not just what you say, it's how you say it. That's really valuable. Now, we've talked a lot about this specific role, but these skills we've discussed, negotiation, communication, market analysis, those are important in any field.
I completely agree. And the RoleCatcher career guides talk about that too. They emphasize transferable skills. Those are abilities you can use in different industries and even in your personal life.
So even if you decide this isn't the right path for you, preparing for this interview has given you skills that you can use in the future.
Exactly. It's an investment in your career development. And that's what I like about RoleCatcher's approach. They're not just about helping you get one job. They're about helping you make smart choices throughout your career.
This deep dive has been amazing. We've covered so much. I feel like anyone listening is going to walk into that interview feeling confident and ready.
I hope so. And remember, even after the interview, stay curious, keep learning, and keep exploring. RoleCatcher's resources are there to help you every step of the way.
That's a great reminder. So to everyone out there getting ready for that wholesale merchant interview, be prepared,
Yeah.
be authentic, and be adaptable. And most importantly, believe in yourself. You got this.